What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Nation of Sacred Devotion. Today, we're going to be discussing fear, what it is, what you can do to evaluate and rid yourself of it, and what you can do in its place. Here on the Nation of Sacred Devotion, we discuss our relationship with our Creator and how to grow in that. We discuss our craft and ways to find and pursue a purposeful, meaningful existence through our craft or through our disciplines. And then we also discuss how to have meaningful, healthy relationships with our community. So the three emphasis here on this show is creator, craft, and community. The reason why we want to talk about fear today is because it's, in my estimation, the number one thing that's keeping people from their creator, keeping people from their full potential when it comes to their craft, and keeping people from experiencing healthy, whole relationships with their community. So we got to get into it. I'd love to open with a story. When I was playing professional basketball in the NBA G League, some people say that's the minor league, or they'll ask, is that like semi-pro or something like that? And my ego felt hurt. I was like, no, it's professional. It's like the minor league NBA, basically, which doesn't sound as good either. But I was playing in Prescott Valley, which is right there above Phoenix, Arizona. It's about an hour and a half away, and was playing for the Suns affiliate G League team at the time. And I'd worked really, really hard to make this team. In fact, I'd gone to an open tryout, which is where you pay anywhere from $250 to $300. Can't exactly remember the price, to go and try out with a bunch of other people, anywhere from 18 to mid 30s. Hundreds of people come out, which is actually an incredible source of income for these teams. But notwithstanding, I've been training for about 6 months, pretty much every day. I'd hired a trainer, like a skill development trainer. I've been working out with one of my best friends pretty much every day in his garage, like grungy, hard, not quite CrossFit style workouts, but like bodybuilding, strength training, core stuff. Like, we were getting after it. And then I was pretty much eating Chipotle every day, which at the time was, in my mind, the best way that I could prepare for this opportunity. I'd played collegiate basketball at Texas A&M. That hadn't gone great. I'll make a video another time sharing about how that went, what went into it, and then what went into my decision to leave Texas A&M and go to Grand Canyon University, which is in Phoenix, Arizona. I would say that I underachieved when it comes to my college basketball career, at least as I see it. I'm grateful for the opportunity, but if I could go back, I would do things much differently as far as my approach, my mindset, and number one, what we're talking about here today when it comes to fear. So we get to training camp, and I had gotten up there earlier than anybody else. I was running hills in the morning because up in Prescott Valley, there's a different elevation than there at sea level. And so you lose your wind a bit quicker, get tired sooner. So I came up a week early, and I'm running hills every day, doing workout classes up there just so that I can be locked in and ready. Training camp starts, and I'm doing, quote unquote, all the right things. I'm there first, working out at the end. I'm taking any tips and feedback I can get from coaches. And I was able to, I think, probably string together one of the more impressive, disciplined preseasons. We had a couple really solid players, a couple guys who had been drafted, a couple guys who had had success in the NBA and then were back in the G League, kind of working on their way back. Others who had had successful overseas careers and now were looking to get into the NBA. And I was really the only guy who had entered the organization the way that I did, through an open tryout, which is probably like it's not like a walk-on necessarily, but it's close at the collegiate level, So all that said, a couple weeks in, I noticed that even though I was doing all the things I knew to do, I just wasn't playing confidently. I wasn't knocking down shots when the opportunity came. I was passing them up. I was pump faking and then attacking and dishing to somebody else. And I was being encouraging to others and elevating others, and I think I was a good teammate, but I felt like there was something missing, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I was trying to understand, why is it that all of this work that I've done, I'm a 6'9", athletic, multi-skilled player, but when it comes to game time, I'm not able to perform at the level that I know that I can. Like, I know by myself I'm a 70% three-point shooter. When it gets into the game, there's some reason that I'm overthinking it. And I remember one time in particular in practice afterwards, coach, his name was Coach Ty, amazing dude. he started sharing that he could, because of his experience as a player and now as a coach, he could tell when watching somebody whether they played for love or fear. He could tell based on their behaviors and their approach and their attitude and all of it, whether they're motivated by fear or motivated by love. And he went kind of down the line and said, Askia plays for love. D Jones definitely plays for love. He just, things like that. And then he got to me, and I'm sitting right there, and he's like, DA, bro, you play out of fear, and it's okay. He's like, a lot of players, that helps them get to where, they want to get to. And I, to be honest, I didn't want him to say that because I assumed it was not quite a positive thing. That doesn't even sound good, to play from fear. But then he pointed out there's a couple NBA players that he had coached and played that play from a place of fear. So again, he was like, practically speaking, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just kind of is what it is. And it's helped you get to this level. You're a great player, whatever. And I thought about that for several days after, and there came a moment our team was going to be going up to what's called the G League Showcase. It was in Canada. I think it still is each year. I'm not sure, but we're going up there and we could only take 10 players and we had like 13 or 14 on the roster. Not to elevate myself beyond, but I was definitely in the upper echelon as far as skill and ability on our team. No question about it. The coaches would say so. The feedback I would get from others, it was that way. However, the day before we're getting ready to leave after practice, Coach Ty calls me in and he shares what I felt like was from his heart and from a genuine place of care and said, DA, I just want to share something with you, man. You're not going to be coming with us on this trip. We're going to take Assad and we're going to take a couple other guys. And I want to tell you why. When it comes down to it, I believe that you are afraid. And I have never seen you give your whole heart to this thing. I've seen you give your mind. I've seen you give your body. I've seen you work harder than a lot of the dudes that are here. I've seen you show up early, take advantage of the time. All of it is great. You're a great example. I love your character. I love your faith, all of it. But when it comes down to it, you got to go all in and you got to be desperate. And there's some guys here who may not be as talented, but they love this shit, bro. Like, there is nothing else for them. And he said, and brother, because you are so gifted and because you're so talented, I feel like you know that. And that if basketball doesn't work out for you, you got like 2, 3, 4 other things that you could do just because of your relationships and your network and your ability to try and really work at things, to become proficient and things like that. But, we need some dogs. Like, we need some dudes that are going to go all in. And he also used the example that, sometimes in practice there would be like fights. Nothing crazy, but, it's basketball. Or we would get into a scuffle with another team and I would never really be involved. I would, kind of be off to the side. And I did see myself as above things like fighting for, basketball, or I felt disrespected, so now I'm fighting you, or I'm calling you out because you said you were better than me, or whatever. Again, I was just like saying things like I'm going to let my work speak for me, or I'm not going to stoop down to that level of, whatever. But what Coach Ty said that day gave me an opportunity to start to evaluate why I did some of the things that I did. And obviously it hurt. I wanted to go on that trip, and then I had to stay behind and just work out. And Prescott Valley is not exactly a metropolitan environment for tons of fun. Like, I think I went to Olive Garden on a Friday evening by myself, brought a book and a journal. And although I enjoy that kind of thing, like, it's not necessarily where you want to be. Going to Toronto with your team, getting to go out to eat every night on the team's dime, and then playing elite level basketball, like that's where I'd rather be. But he shared that with me, and I think that was one of the catalyst moments that had me really start to dive deep in, try and answer this question. And this is the question that I'd like to propose to you, is what am I truly afraid of? If you take a look at one of your habits or behaviors that people would say, yeah, that's like what they do. That's something that they typically, like for me, let's just say showing up early, doing extra work, asking coaches, what can I be doing to get better? Things like that. Like, on the surface, that's cool. That's a great way to become better at whatever your profession is, whatever your craft is. But for me, if I was being honest, what I was afraid of was that I wasn't doing enough, or that eventually someone was going to come in and say, you lose your spot, you're not working hard, you suck, all of that. And the irony and the sadness is that's literally what happened. By me trying my best not to let that experience take place, that became my reality. Coach Ty told me, you're not going even on the trip. So my fear ended up manifesting or coming to fruition in a real way for me, even though subconsciously that was the very thing that I was trying not to let happen. What I'd love to propose here is that fear is the ever-present awareness that I need to do, say, act in ways that will ultimately protect myself from the worst case scenario. It's a subconscious focus on the negative outcome that is a possibility for me. There's a mentor of mine who says energy flows where attention goes. And so when you place your attention on a certain outcome and then you say, I'm going to live my life so that that doesn't happen, and that's our primary motivator, it's my experience that that will lead you to operate from a place of fear. And it will not ultimately lead you to where you want to be and where you want to go. And that's with your relationship with your creator, that's with your craft, and that's also with your community. The thing about fear is it keeps you from the present moment. It'll take you anywhere else but the moment, and that's where you need to be, and that's the only place that you are. The present moment is all that we have, and that's true with our relationship with the creator. That's true with whatever it is that we're doing. We only have right now. What has been is, and what will be is largely contingent upon how we relate to this present moment. I think an evaluation on what essence, what spirit, what attitude is ultimately calling the shots. And what am I afraid of? I think, again, for me, the very things I ended up being afraid of were the things that I walked through. When you read Psalm 23, he leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And then he says, and even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. I'd like to propose to you that that is, for the life of someone in a relationship with their creator, the structure or the rhythm or the flow that one will find themselves in. It says, he leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. So he's the one leading you forward and showing you, go this way, go this way. But then suddenly you end up in the valley of the shadow of death. How did that happen? Because he led you there. The valley of the shadow of death is not the valley of death. The valley of the shadow of death. A shadow is an outline of the real thing, and it's a symbol of the thing. And so for us, we have a ton of shadows of death in our life, whether it be a small bank account, it can be an injury, it can be a health scare, whatever it is. These are all shadows. These are not the substance of death itself. And so my proposition that I offer is that your creator, because he loves you and wants to free you from fear, will lead you into all of your greatest fears to show you that he and his presence with you is enough. My journey as a professional athlete, as a father, as a husband, as an entrepreneur, in all of these areas, every single fear that I've ever had, fear of debt, fear of a difficult marriage, fear of people thinking that I'm crazy, all these things, that I'm not good enough as an athlete. I could go on and on and on and on. Every single one of them has happened. And I'm here right now telling you that it was, each of them, exactly what I needed. So instead of us ending up pursuing pleasure and avoiding pain with our whole lives, the Creator will replace that with an experience of his presence, so that at the end of the day we realize that just to know we are with him, working our way through life, walking at his pace, knowing that we are one with him through our relationship, that is what life is about. And then sharing that relationship with others and expressing that relationship through our craft. Whatever it is that our hand finds to do, we do it to the best of our ability as a reflection of the relationship we have with the Creator. We share that with the relationships we have with others in our lives. We find that that is the true purpose and intention of our lives. And we can ultimately say that we are walking in the spirit of love rather than one of fear. I'm going to be sharing a lot more about my journey when it comes to overcoming fears and facing the very things that are keeping us stuck in all of these areas. Bless you guys. See you on the next one.